many are still grieving. Some families will be lost to one another forever. To those of you who face the difficulties of reconnecting with family and establishing ongoing relationships, we say sorry. We offer this apology in the hope that it will assist your healing and in order to shine a light on a dark period of our nation's history. To those who have fought for the truth to be heard, we hear you now.
You're listening to Adopt Perspective Podcast, a podcast for anyone affected by adoption. I'm your host and president of Jigsaw Queensland, Jo Sparrow. This podcast is a production of Jigsaw Queensland Post-Adoption Support Service. However, the views expressed are those of the people participating and not necessarily Jigsaw Queensland. The podcast discusses adult themes and listener discretion is advised. Welcome to another episode of Adopt Perspective. I'm your host and president of Jigsaw Queensland, Jo Sparrow. Today's conversation is one that takes us across continents, cultures, and the complex search for identity that so many adopted people navigate. My guest is Ryan Anderson, an intercountry adoptee who now lives in Scotland. Ryan was born in Morocco and adopted at 6 months old after being found on the streets of Jadida. He was fostered by a Moroccan family prior to being adopted at 3 months of age and came to live in Scotland with his adoptive parents in 1990 when he was just 6 months old. But it wasn't until he was 18 that Ryan even learned that he was adopted. For 13 years, he kept that secret to himself, carrying the weight of shame, confusion, and longing. Today, Ryan is an advocate for adoptees and mental health awareness. His journey has taken him around the world, literally walking the streets of Morocco, appearing on Moroccan television, in hopes of finding his biological family, and facing some very precarious situations along the way. Ryan is open about his struggles with identity, mental health, and substance use, and the steps he's taken to heal. I'm so honoured to have Ryan with us today. Ryan, welcome to Adopt Perspective, and thank you so much for joining me and for your openness and sharing your story.
More importantly, thank you for having me. I try to tell my story to inspire others and use my vulnerability as my superpower.
It is your superpower. Ryan, can you take us back to the beginning of your story? What do you know about your earliest days in Morocco and your adoption story?
As you know, I found out later in life that I was adopted. So all the information that I know is which hospital was looking after me. I know about Morocco after doing some research. Women can give their babies up for many reasons, due to poverty, due to shame. Morocco is a religious country for the religion Islam. So if you're being a single mum or if the woman is cheated, that's frowned upon. I do know some facts like 30 babies a day back in 1990. They were being put up for adoption. And you've got countries like India and China who had it worse, I believe. But I don't have any information about my adoption. So everything is all speculation to me. Mm-hmm. So it's all just guesswork, really. I found out at 18, but I didn't start asking questions till age 31. Yeah. And I was locked down. And it was only until then that the first pages of my book felt important. Yeah. But before that, I was able to ignore it, and that's what some adoptees do. I've met some adoptees who are not interested in searching, who are not interested in finding their biological family, just getting on with life. Mm-hmm. And I was doing that at one point, and I think all of us adoptees sometimes do that at one point. You have to balance living life and your adoption struggles, and some people can manage that better. Some people struggle.
Absolutely. So you've described yourself as a foundling. What does it mean to carry that identity, having no information about your birth family or origins?
Yeah, so I was born with no name. My adopted parents, they named me. They were living in Morocco at the time. They already had 2 children who had grown up, and it was my mum who wanted to adopt. She begged my dad. And after my adopted dad finally agreed, he says, pick a boy because a girl more likely to run off when she can start her own family when she's older. They had to go to many meetings to go through the intercountry adoption. They spend a lot of money, go to courts, the hospital, and when they finally got into the hospital, they seen a line of babies, and then my dad said, pick the first baby, which is a boy. The first one they did pick was part of a twin. The next one was me. So, yeah, as I mentioned before, there was no that labelling foundling. The foundling label, it makes me feel lost and different. I feel different to other adoptees because the difficulty in me searching and the layers to my trauma. Yeah, it is known that you must tell adoptees as early as possible because doing this can cause further trauma. But my mum wasn't told about this; she wasn't aware. She didn't tell me coming from a place of love, and other adoptees they find out in other tragic circumstances.
Yeah. So your adoptive parents brought you to Scotland in 1990. Now, you didn't know that you were adopted at the time, but what was your early childhood like growing up in Scotland in terms of family life, culture, and identity?
Yeah, my childhood was okay. I never really met any of my father's side. We did used to go to Morocco. We used to drive over, go on the boat. So I do have memories of playing football in the streets in Morocco. I do remember going to the mosque because family were Muslim, and that's where I luckily learned a handful of words in Arabic, which is came in useful to this day. Um, yes, being brought up Muslim, it was different from where I grew up. My mum was English and white colour skin. Dad was Moroccan like me. But I was always, I didn't like being different skin colour. Never had much money. You always wanted to fit in. The religion being different. And I always knew there was something odd about me. So, yeah, I was always just trying my best to fit in.
Yeah. So you found out you're adopted at 18. That would have come as quite a shock, I imagine. Can you tell us how you found out and what that moment was like for you?
Yeah, so I was living in England at the moment, and then was in Scotland on a holiday. It was New Year's. We call it Hogmanay in Scotland. And my brother mentioned to me, "You need to speak to mum," because I think the plan was to tell me at 16, and then the goalposts changed, and then that was 18 because my parents got divorced, and my mum wrote me up. So I came back after New Year. My mum had wrote, and I missed Scotland so much. I'd only been away for 3 months. Um, this is the difficulty of having families in different cities. My family were in England, and we were living in Scotland. So yeah, we were living there at the moment, and my mum wrote me a letter. I remember after reading that letter, it felt like my world came crashing down. And I ran out the house crying. I didn't know where I was running to. Um, and yeah, age just before my 18th. So I had that attitude. It's me against the world. Um, so I got a job. I moved away back up to Scotland, got a flat, got a job, and I started my own life and stood on 2 feet. And my mum was very upset after me learning this secret. But yeah, I done as much as I can to block that information out.
Yeah.
And that was the part where I kept it a secret because growing up with shame, then learning that you're adopted, that's another tool that someone could have used against me. Um, when I was 18, uh, that was a nightmare for me because I was just how could I say it? Yeah, I wanted to fit in so much.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. 18 is such a pivotal time in our lives for when we are stepping into our own identity too. So I can imagine how just that time frame in your life would have been a really difficult, there's never a good time to find out as a late discovery, but, it would have been a very difficult time.
Yeah. As I touched on before, you're supposed to tell adoptees as soon as possible.
Yeah.
But when would have been the right time for me?
Yeah.
Tell them, obviously, would it been, some people find out at age 30. I've known different adoptees finding out at different ages, 40, 50. Some people found out at 70. Some people never know.
Yeah.
And I found out at 18, and I probably wasn't emotionally able to deal with that. But I'm here today.
And you kept your adoption a secret for 13 years. What was it like carrying that secret, and what impact did it have on you emotionally and psychologically?
Yeah, so keeping that secret was very damaging. I remember at age 21, I started writing a will in case I died, and I would always think about death. But when I was younger, I was able to cope much better because I treated my friends as my family. And when I was a teenager in my early 20s, I was involved in alcohol and drugs, and it was just a party life, and I enjoyed it. Um, you're young, you're able to get into the pubs, into the clubs, you go on holidays, and yeah, I was running away from my secret, and I made it that much a big deal. But over the years, my mental health got worse, especially when you mix alcohol and drugs into that. Um, so yeah, it did have a very big impact on me emotionally and physically, where obviously the hangovers got much worse, and the thoughts got much worse, and just slowly started creeping up on me.
Yeah. And you've struggled with identity and shame about your heritage and experiences of racism. How did these experiences shape your sense of self?
Yeah, so you kind of being a foundling, you don't know your sense of self. Shame was always a big part of my life, as I described when I was younger. But I learned to toughen up from the area I came from. I used to call myself names, so then people would laugh. So they wouldn't call you it. So when and if anyone ever did call you it, it wouldn't hurt as much.
Yeah,
So
you get in first. Yeah.
yeah, you kind of use that as a coping mechanism, and yeah, just I kind of just learned to deal with it and toughen up. But it was just one my way of coping, really. But
You have,
yeah, younger, I was quite ashamed of my heritage
yeah,
and of my skin color, um, and the identity part. I still struggle with that now.
yeah,
But I'm more proud of my skin color and my heritage, which is a positive.
yeah. You have said before that as a young person you wanted to be white, and how that's changed over time. How have you come to see your Moroccan heritage and your identity today?
So I kind of class myself as Scottish and Moroccan, and these days I'm proud to be both. I actually got a jumper made of that.
Yeah.
The two being proudly both. So that was pretty cool. Um, but unfortunately, regarding identity and stuff, I still don't feel I fit in either. So when I'm in Scotland, I'm Moroccan, and when I'm in Morocco, I'm Scottish. So obviously the language barrier there, skin color. I'm actually glad to be the skin color I am. Loads of people want to get tanned these days. So, but when I was younger, I wished I was white. Just from the area I grew up in, and just my age really kind of matured. When you're young, you want to fit in. When you're older, you're happy about. You learn that people are different, and also about travelling as well. You get to see the world, and I can kind of blend in when I go into different. Like I was in Brazil or in Colombia, they all thought I could fit in as one of them. I like to work and live out in Spain and stuff, so there's got its positives to it.
Yeah. I interviewed a guy called Benjamin a couple of years ago, Ryan, and he was from Brazil, I think. And he has mentioned how where he lives on the Gold Coast, there's a big Brazilian community there, and he'll be walking around markets, and they'll start speaking to him, and how he feels when he can't answer them back because he doesn't speak the language. Have you had that kind of thing happen?
100%.
Yeah.
The Moroccans say, "Why do you not speak Arabic?" Some of them don't believe that I don't speak Arabic. I don't usually help either when I try and say "Salam alaikum." That's you say. That's you introduce yourself. Then come back with a sentence, and then I used to have to pick up the phone and say, "Hello, can you translate for me?" Luckily, I've got a lot of friends who can speak both languages, but the main comment is people say, "I need to learn Arabic."
Yeah.
I've actually started saying back to them, "You need to learn English." But yeah, they it can be very frustrating. So like when I go to Morocco, I'm all excited to start using Google Translate and trying to learn all the words. And by the end of the week holiday, I'm like, get me back to Scotland because my head's just burst with the language barrier.
Yeah.
But there is a lot of people do. English is obviously quite spoken well over there. So there is some people who can it's getting better than it was before. And yeah, learning a language is a tough one, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, and just thinking about when you were talking, how you're saying, you don't feel like part of either world. I mean, that's at the heart of every adoptee story as well, is that we never feel a full part of either family. And then you have that additional layer of not feeling culturally part of those two cultures when you're intercountry. It's just that much more complex.
Yeah. So I was taken back to the start. I was born. My adopted parents named me Rashid Marini. And then I changed my name at 19 to Ryan Anderson. And I've also got a nickname called Pesci. So I've only got three names. So when I go to Morocco, I call myself Rashid because that's an Arabic name. And Ryan, they spell Ryan a bit differently in Morocco. That's actually an Arabic name as well, which I didn't know that. But Anderson's also my mother's maiden name. That's the reason why I changed it. And but the point was, different names, different identities, and that's another part of just trying to fit in over there.
And you've literally walked the streets of Morocco searching for your family and appeared on TV shows like Shoof TV and the Moroccan Finding Family on Muktafoon to MTV. Can you share some of that experience with us, the hopes and the challenges?
Yeah, so even before my adoption, I loved the camera. If there's someone videoing something, I'm like, get me in there, do something silly or be funny or just ramble on, whatever. But yeah, so the adrenaline every time someone took an interest in my story. It's also about being thankful as well, because there's many opportunities where I've tried to tell my story to people and they're not interested. And I got a huge high from all the exposure I get because it's hope, isn't it? But once that's all over, sometimes also the exposure can be very overwhelming. But once it's all over and everything's died down, and then all the leads come to an end, I'm back to square one again. Yeah, I'm just rocking up to these TV shows going, hello, I'm Ryan from Scotland. Here's my story. You interested? Because they've not heard of this, they're like, yes, get on TV. And that has led to I put my number on social media. So I've been on the TV show twice over the last 3-4 years on each one. And there's all the comments are in Arabic, so I need to go through them. Some people are positive, some people are negatives. I put my mobile number on the internet for them. So when I had a good few hundred messages when it went viral, and some people just wishing me well, some people saying, hello, I'm adopted as well, some people saying, I know your family. And when someone has an idea in Morocco, they just think it's a fact. So they say, we found mum, we know her, this is her, I believe it. So then I did some research and it's a little loose end. So I try not to get excited about it. It was only last week that I had a DNA test come back. So what happened was I went on a TV show, and a week later, this family went on the TV show and says, "Hello, I'm Ryan's uncle," and he never had a DNA test. He looked like me, and then they done a big article about it saying he's found his family. So everyone's saying congratulations, and now obviously 9 months later, after 4 DNA tests, I use a company called Ancestry. And unfortunately, one DNA, they sent the DNA over from Morocco to here, 2 bits of DNA. One got contaminated, one got lost. So then I'm losing 6 months out of that. So then I found a local UK one which done the hair DNA. That came back negative. The family still didn't believe it. So then I done a DNA test again, and it did actually come back. We were 3rd or 4th cousins.
Oh, wow.
But that's still very low.
Yeah.
So it's I'm back to square one again, and yes, as you can imagine, that's a roller coaster. They're disappointed that I'm the one who still needs to go back to the TV show and say, "Hi guys, will you take an interest?"
Yeah. I wonder, Ryan, I was recently watching a show about intercountry adoptees in Australia going back to Vietnam and handing out DNA tests for people to do in villages where they think they might have come from. And they were saying that culturally, it's unlikely that someone's going to get up from the town meeting or village meeting that they had and put their hand up that it could be them, because culturally there's still a lot of stigma and shame. Would that be the case in Morocco too? Do you think that your mother might not feel comfortable that she could be stigmatized if she stepped forward?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
So some of the women who have stepped forward have said, "Ryan, don't take a picture of me." Some of the women, they could have started a new family. So how's their current family current partner gonna take, or anyone in the family gonna take to a new addition? So bear in mind everything's all speculation, but you're correct in what you're saying, that people are not just gonna chuck their hands up and say, "I'm his mum." Don't know what background they've got or what they're. Remember, this was 35 years ago, so you don't know where they are in it at the moment. So that is that is an issue. So when I search, I'm looking for anyone. But most people just try and find a mum or a dad. I want a mum, dad, sister, auntie, uncle. There's even as low as cousin. I'm aiming for cousin. And I'm just hoping for the best. So when I've done the DNA tests, third and fourth cousin, I think, is the best match. Most people are being extremely helpful. When I do a lot of traveling, I bump into some of these DNA family, even though it's very small. They even some of the strangers in Morocco, they say, "We're your family." So that I'm creating a community over there, people who like me. And I went to New York and bumped into my fourth cousin. Let me stay with him, which was very kind.
Yeah.
The Moroccan food, said you're welcome. Um, so it was a very positive experience.
Yeah. You've also told me about some precarious interactions you've had during these searches in Morocco, including people trying to take advantage of you and even an attempted kidnapping. Would you be comfortable sharing a little more about those experiences?
Yeah, so I met people from. I'm in lots of Facebook groups, Moroccan Facebook groups, here, back, over there. I just post my story, tell people what I'm doing, and the positives is you get your story out there, but there's also some negative to that some people can take advantage of you. And on this occasion, I met a man from Facebook through his sister, and he was my taxi driver. Um, and he was driving me around all day. Everything was all good, and I did get warned: don't eat and don't drink off people because sometimes they can spike you. So be very careful. But I didn't listen to any of that. And this man was like, "Yeah, you can come stay with me." That's another um, common phrase people say, "Come stay with me." And yeah, I went to his house and was eating with him. I was a bit cautious that part, but I was just going ahead with it. And he was driving me around, and it came to about 11 o'clock at night, and I had to go to the courts the next day morning. And he said, "Let's go out for coffee." And one day it was raining. That night it was raining, and I remember it. And he took me to a cafe, and the cafe was empty. And I was like, "This is a bit uncomfortable." And I was staying with this guy, and I had all my passport with me, all my money, my clothes, and the man started taking drugs. He was smoking the hash that they have in Morocco, and then he introduced me to his friend, and then he started his tone started changing. He started his mannerisms. He started swearing and stuff, and maybe this was the drugs that he had taken. And then he told me like his friend liked me. Um,
Goodness. Yeah.
and then he says, "In fact, do you want to change the plan? Do you want to go and stay with my friend?" And I went, "No, I'm okay, thanks." And then okay, let's go. And I went. So I started getting very uncomfortable. I said, "Right, mate, do you want to just take me home?" And then he never answered. And then we went to the guy's house instead of taking me home. And he said, "Do you want to just let's go and have a look at your house, my friend's house? We'll have a little look around." And I said, "No, I don't feel comfortable." And then this is I said no about 4 or 5 times, and he turned the ignition off. And I looked on the maps, and I was like an hour away from the hotel I'd stayed at before. So I just jumped out the car and ran. And yeah, it was a very horrible. It was in the middle of nowhere. I pretended I was on the phone to someone,
Mm.
and uh, he then got a fright and then took me back to the hotel. But I'd asked him about 3 or 4 times to do that, and he ignored me.
Mm.
And a very uncomfortable experience.
Yeah, gosh. Oh, I'm feeling,
He had seen me with money,
yeah,
handing up that
yeah.
I had money, and then the hotel says, "Ryan, be careful. You could have people kill for your passport,
Mm.
or even worse. Don't do that again." That was the hotel reception. This
Yeah.
has happened before.
Wow.
Um, so I was still shaking.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Oh, I'm glad you got out of that unscathed.
yeah,
Yeah. So you've used travel as a form of escape. Can you tell us about the period of your life where what you're running from and what did you find along the way?
So I was running from my adoption, really.
Mm.
Travel was my way of coping, and it still is my way of coping. I love a holiday, enjoy traveling, seeing new places. Before I used to work in an island called Ibiza, so I worked there for
Mm-hmm.
summer, and in the winter I was going traveling. So everyone thought I had an amazing life, um, working in Ibiza in the summer, traveling in the winter, but no one knew about the demons that I had and what I was running away from. And yeah, but what I found along the way was the high I got from opening up and the conversations I've had over the years with people have been very rewarding, and it's nice to know that people can talk to me. And yeah, when I've done something positive like open up, then had a ripple effect and helped others. And I do get messages from people to say they listen to my podcasts, and I just try and do as much good in the world as I can. But I do stress that I'm not perfect. Still make mistakes.
That we
Um,
all.
yeah, but I've still, I kind of still use the traveling as a form of escape.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but it's weird because after the end of every holiday, I do miss Scotland,
Yeah.
and when I'm back, then I'm like, right, where's the next holiday? Obviously, we can't. Well, can't all just. We can if you get the balance right. You just try and be on
Yeah.
holiday all the time, but
Well, you do
obviously,
live in beautiful Edinburgh, which is, I went there a couple of years ago, just absolutely stunning. And I know you've been to Brisbane as well in Australia.
yes, I've been to
Yeah.
Australia.
Yeah.
I was on that, as I mentioned before, on that Bondi rescue getting saved.
Yeah.
Uh,
You have to tell people this.
the Coast Guard was having a go at me because I was not listening to them coming in. I was quite, his words, I was seconds from disaster, and my words, I was fine.
Yeah.
But I'd like to apologise for my drunken antics that day.
Bondi Rescue, goodness. I'm going to have to go back and watch some episodes.
I'll send you the link.
Good, good. So now, Ryan, you've struggled with alcohol and drugs and suicidal ideation over the years. What has helped you begin to turn the corner toward healing?
Um, yes, I try and be honest with my alcohol and drugs. Um, and I did mention before that I actually found them fun to a point, which maybe a lot of other people do. They find them fun, but then they do get to a point where it's having a negative effect. Because always I worry if people are taking them on their own, or if people are getting the after effects are getting too bad. Um, so I'm currently 2 years sober, nearly 2 years, sorry. But I do still. I've always struggled from suicidal ideation, um, and I still do now. But I do feel like I'm on the right path, being sober.
Hmm.
And what helped me was, well, lockdown. Lockdown really helped me because when lockdown happened, you couldn't travel anymore. So that's what led to my self development journey. Um, and I, I feel even the stopping the alcohol and drugs did help to an extent, because I know I would be as much as I miss them at the moment. Um, I know I would be much worse, because I've always had a stop-start relationship with alcohol and drugs, and the suicide ideation has always been there. So I'd go for a year sober, then I'd go back to partying. Then now I'm currently 2 years, but before that I was, um, I was partying a lot, but I always stress the word balance to people to get the word balance. On some people's balance is none, and I always like to people if they're taking it too much to try and reduce what how much they're partying. just for their mental health.
Yeah.
Yeah, talking was healing. Meeting other adoptees, being in, doing podcasts. I've currently just done a film about being sober. So all these opportunities have came from my healing journey.
Mm-hmm.
Fitness one as well. I like to try and keep fit, even though I feel like I'm an old man. But I'm trying to keep fit. And to be honest, holidays and concerts, they're really healing for me. A couple of weeks ago, I went to Robbie Williams. Do you know who that
Oh,
is?
yes. Yeah, I know who that is. I'm not that old, Ryan. Come on.
He was fantastic. I usually have quite lucky when I get tickets for cheap or for free. So I've been going to a lot of concerts. So that's when I get I'm like a dopamine chaser. I'm always chasing the next highs.
Yeah.
Which I even was with my partying days.
Mm-hmm.
And quite a lot of people's reaction is, how can you do this sober? And I say the word, I've got ADHD, which I'm undiagnosed, but I believe I have it. But I have had people approach me and say, Ryan, I've went out sober as well. I'm doing the same as you, which is nice to know.
Yeah.
People are doing the same. Yes, just my main goal is to set a good example,
Mm-hmm.
which I try because I'm not perfect. I always say I'm not perfect.
And you've built community, and I think that's something that's really important and helpful when people impacted by adoption are trying to heal. And I mentioned before the intercountry adoptees that were in Vietnam handing out these DNA kits. They were riding bikes together through the different villages and, raising awareness. And as I was watching them, I'm thinking, look at them, like they've found a community, a family amongst themselves, like people have shared experience as they were doing that. So even if they're not able in the end to connect with their biological family, they have created a sense of family amongst themselves, which is it's something. And I know that connecting with other adoptees and support groups have been really important to you. What have you gained from those spaces?
Yeah, I've met lots of adoptees over the last 2 years. At Christmas time, I've created adoptee meetups where I get breakfast, a lunch, and a dinner I arrange over the Christmas time, and the numbers have been the first year was 5, 7, and 6. The second year was 6, 7, and 11. So these are adoptees in my area who've never met each other, some of them, and getting all together and having a meal and just chit chat. And some have good adoptions, some have bad adoptions. Sometimes there's a worry. Sometimes it can clash. Some people, it's people they wouldn't normally hang around with. Out of these groups, some people have connected, but everyone knows me, really. And I class myself as a networker, try and get people. So whenever I see someone doing research, I'm in loads of Facebook groups. Whenever I see someone, when there's an adoptee meetup, whenever I see a podcast, I always try and interact and want to get involved. So obviously, I'm very grateful, Joe, for you having me on here. But yeah, it's beneficial for me meeting other adoptees, because as soon as I know someone's adopted, it feels like I've got their back. But also, it's good for other adoptees to know what's out there, because there's not enough out there, but there is a lot out there. There's all the podcasts, there's books, there's stuff on TV, there's Facebook groups. I think there should be adoptee meetups all over the world, because adoption's affected everywhere, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. It sure is.
But I said there's not much support out there, is there, for adult adoptees? So it's certain adoptees are trying to do their bit to to do it within themselves, be an advocate. And there could be an adoptee next door to you or not far from you, and without you knowing. I've heard that.
Every room I go into, a lot of different rooms for a lot of different reasons, to talk about different things. And if I always introduce myself, even if it's got nothing to do with adoption, because I MC events and stuff. And I always introduce myself as, President of Jigsaw, and we help people impacted by adoption. And without fail, I'll have at least 3 people in the audience or in that room come up to me later and say that they're adopted, or they lost a child to adoption, or, a sibling or their mother. And that's just it. There were 250,000 adoptions, between 1940 till now in Australia. So, every one of them has 2 sets of parents, 4 sets of grandparents, siblings, children. So you literally can't swing a cat without hitting someone who's affected by adoption here in Australia. And it's that way across a lot of the Western world and other countries. So,
Yeah, I could. The 2 questions I ask everyone I meet, whether it's strangers to any room I'm in, is: do you know anyone who's Moroccan, and do you know anyone's adopted? And I also asked this question to Prince William. I met him last month, which was an honour, playing football. And they were the 2 questions. He was fascinated with my story. Prince William is from England, and it was a real honour to tell my story to him. And all these organisation, they were all fascinated, and I sent them all the links. So hopefully I hear back from something. But that's how I've met a lot of adoptees. Just by I met some adoptees when I play football. And I've also met people in the, like, say, for us having a barbecue at the beach or a bonfire. And yet adoption is always on my mind. So, and then by having these conversations, I can find other adoptees. Because it's not something that comes up in conversation, is it? But I come out in conversation, and it's building connections.
So, Ryan, for other adoptees out there who might be struggling, especially late discovery adoptees, or any that are carrying shame, what would you like them to know?
Just like to know that you're not alone. Please reach out. There's a community out there. There's. I feel like us adoptees, we need to stick together. And there's conversations adoptees can have with other adoptees that we all get it. It can help, or even if you can use the spaces for a space to vent. You can use it for support. And then you've got, it's just it's an opportunity to try anyway, because as much as there's not much support out there, these are the groups that all we have. So it's important to try and just stick together. It does break my heart. A lot of adoptees out there struggling, and I'm one of them. And unfortunately, it's hard for. I don't reach out. I have a very big support group, but I still don't reach out, and I go my own mind. But
we all do, Ryan. I think, like, I'm 53 years in. I met my mother when I was 19, my father when I was 39. I work in this area, and I struggle sometimes, as you go through periods where something happens and it can lay you really low.
Yeah, as I said, I'm still searching for my birth family, and I do plan to go over again this year, do the same again. And I just feel like I want to be. It's good. I just try and think positive, and think that all my efforts is gonna. I don't like a job unfinished, so I'm really rolling up my sleeves and trying my hardest. And most people are replying with positive hope, even though I know it might not happen, but these are the realities of some adoptees face, and I'm trying my best to show. If I keep knocking down the doors, something's gonna happen.
Yeah.
I'm kind of like an adventure, but who knows what the future holds, and I'm just doing my best to try and live a positive life and inspire others.
Mm-hmm. And for non-adopted listeners, which we do have some non-adopted and people who aren't directly impacted listeners, what do you wish people most understood about the adoptee experience that they probably don't at the moment?
The conversations I have with people is adoption. The narrative is a positive narrative. Adoption is amazing. You saved a child. And in some situations that can be correct, but just be open-minded that some adoptions are good and some not so good. So there's a lot of adoptees who are angry, upset, which they're rightly so. Times like Christmas, birthdays, they can be triggers for us adoptees. And it's just try and be supportive to those who have had a bad, or any people can still have a good adoption and still suffer from issues regarding their adoption, and it can hit adoptees any point in life. So just try and be more understanding and supportive, because I believe that us adoptees need that support, just regarding our identity.
Mm-hmm.
And some people don't get that support from their loved ones, other people close to them. That's why the other adoptees who understand. So just try and get people to educate themselves more about adoption.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very difficult subject, isn't it? Because with an adoptee, as you said, you've got two families: your birth family, your adoption family. Sometimes they don't get on. Sometimes the adoptee doesn't speak to any of them.
They're complicated.
Yeah,
They're
be
complicated.
stuck.
Yeah.
Very, very complicated. And it's it's different dynamics, isn't it?
Ryan, look, thank you so much for your openness, honesty, and vulnerability today. Your story is incredibly powerful, and I know it will resonate with many of our listeners. And you've shown us what courage looks like in the face of deep uncertainty and pain, and your commitment to helping others is inspiring. And I wish you absolutely all the best as you continue forward in your life, healing and searching for your family.
Thank you very much for having me. If you're ever from Morocco, or if you're an adopted, I'd like to hear your story. Well, you're doing a great job.
Thank you so much, and I hope you keep in touch. And to everyone tuning in, every adoption story is different and every story matters. If you're looking for support, resources, or simply a space to be heard, please know that Jigsaw Queensland is here for you. And if you'd like to support the podcast, leave a review, share this episode, or get in touch, because we really love to hear from our listeners. And if you have your own story that you'd like to share, head to the Adopt Perspective page on the Jigsaw Queensland website and fill out our prospective guest form. So thank you for listening. I'm Jo Sparrow. Take care and bye for now. Thanks for listening to the Adopt Perspective podcast. If you'd like to find out more, go to the podcast page on www.jigsawqueensland.com and you'll find a wealth of information and resources on the website. If you reside in Queensland, you can reach Jigsaw Queensland's Forced Adoption Support Service on toll-free 1800 210313, or you can call Jigsaw on 07 33 58 6666. If you live in another state of Australia, you can still call the Forced Adoption Support Service number, and your call will be answered by the Forced Adoption Support Service in the state that you're calling from. In every other state, Relationships Australia operates this service. A big thank you to Matt Sparrow for composing and recording our original theme music. Until next time, I'm Jo Sparrow saying farewell from Adopt Perspective, a podcast for anyone affected by adoption.